we asked the FBI for documents about this memo. And of course, we got the proverbial hand to the face. So we sued in federal court. Similarly, there's this major corruption issue with the Justice Department and Attorney General Garland. You may recall he issued this memo in response to a false letter from the National School Boards Association criticizing Americans and parents who were showing up at school board meetings as domestic terrorists. That was the implication of the letter. And Garland, in response, almost immediately launched an initiative involving the FBI and counterterrorism elements of the federal government to start targeting this issue. Was widely acknowledged by most normal people, looked at it as an obvious political ploy to intimidate Americans from criticizing CRT. And of course, it was happening. What was the date of the memo? October 4th, so a month before the election. Remember, CRT was a big election issue. So what better way to interfere in the election and intimidate people from opposing CRT and educating their fellow Americans about it than by having it be known that the FBI might be looking into you if you do it. So what Judicial Watch did was what we did is what we always do, which was we ask more questions about it. Congress asked questions and they just, it just disappears. Well, Judicial Watch asks questions and then we sue if we don't get answers. And so we asked the FBI for documents about this memo. And of course, we got the proverbial hand to the face. So we sued in federal court. Garland, again, he testified. He admitted he based the memo on the letter from the National School Boards Association. Now, the School Boards Association, after a lot of outrage, issued an apology for the letter. So they even walked it back. And I found, and Judicial Watch found information showing that Director Wray, the FBI director, I went and talked to an event, and he said, "Look, they didn't," and I think his deputy was there too. So I don't know who said what, but basically this is what was said by one or both. The DOJ issued the memo without talking to the FBI first, and Wray said, "We're not going to be going over and trampling people's First Amendment rights. We're only going to investigate actual violence," which I thought was dishonest because they got their counterterrorism center going right after this memo was issued. So the FBI did jump after Garland demanded that they do that. But you had Wray trying to back away from Garland's memo. So a lot of controversy here. And we've already been around, this is kind of the same type of intimidation and abuse that we've seen for years now here in Washington, D.C. It first came into national prominence with Obama and Democrats in Congress sicking the IRS and other agencies. They wanted to jail people, the DOJ and FBI, on the Tea Party. The Tea Party. Remember the IRS abuse, Lois Lerner? And then, of course, Trump is targeted by the FBI, DOJ, and the White House, and NSA, and the CIA, and the NSA, and the Pentagon, and the Defense Department, and the State Department, over the Russiagate smears concocted by Hillary and company. And now it was January 6th. Now it's January 6th. I'll talk about that in a minute. And now criticism of CRT, again, politically inconvenient criticism, because it's mobilizing voters who are likely to vote against the current power, Democratic Party and Congress and the states and the presidency. So they need to suppress it. So here you go. Here's the FBI and DOJ showing up to help suppress the political opposition of the leftists in power. The Biden administration wants to target parents as terrorists. Let's be clear. By abusing the FBI and the DOJ to intimidate those who oppose racist and anti-American critical race theory. And of course, now Judicial Watch has had to file a Freedom of Information Act federal lawsuit against the DOJ and the FBI. They're the same agency, practically speaking, at least legally here in this case, over their cover-up mode over this shocking abuse of power. I mean, when's the last time you heard about Garland sicking the FBI on parents? They moved along. We're not going to move along. And on top of that, of course, we have our critical race theory litigation on behalf of teachers who've been abused and fired for opposing it, parents as well. We're working with parents across the country to find out what the schools are teaching. And we have our own litigation and FOIA to find out more about the CRT teachings as well, not only in the schools, but in West Point and in the federal government generally. So Judicial Watch, we hear about these scandals, and more often than not, Judicial Watch is the only one following up on them. People say, well, how are you able to get these documents? Well, how do you decide what to do? It's pretty easy. I say this, half jokingly, but we see a big story in the news about a major corruption issue, and we start asking questions about it. And the shocking thing is we're often the only one asking questions about it. And in this case, we'll probably get documents no one else will get as a result of our federal court litigation. Again, that we wouldn't be able to file without your support. So thank you for that.
Thanks for tuning in. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel to catch all the latest news from Judicial Watch.